Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So good to have so many of you here for our very first Assure Learns webinar. This is, we do a variety of training, but this is going to become a regular for us to do specific trainings about things that are current and kind of the main questions that we're getting from you, our clients. And the one we're going to dive into today, hearing protection fit testing and noise assessments since March of last year. So about the last year, we've been getting a lot of questions about this because Alberta OHS has made some changes to make hearing protection fit testing a requirement. So over the past year, we've started doing fit testing for earplugs and earmuffs, and been helping you, our clients, navigate this world of fit testing and answering your questions about why do we need to be fitted for earplugs? Don't you just shove them in your ears? Isn't that good enough? And who do we need to test? And so what this webinar is going to be about today is your most commonly asked questions. Talk to our receptionist, manager, questions that I get about hearing protection fit testing, and then noise assessments. So I'm going to be diving into what a noise assessment is as well, because these two go hand in hand. Hearing protection fit testing, you need to know some of the details that come out of your noise assessment. So I'm going to dive in and say a little bit more about who we are here at Assure, what we do. So my name is John Rakoczy. I'm the founder and owner of Assure Occupational Testing. It's a company where we have the pleasure of helping you ensure your workers are fit for duty and that your workplace is safe. And how we do that is through these three things. Supervisor training. So I get to work with supervisors and managers at companies and educate them on how to look after their workers in occupational health, and as well as looking for signs and symptoms of substance use and abuse. And a big part of what we do, of course, is drug and alcohol testing. And we get to help companies come up with a plan if an employee fails a drug test. The biggest next question is, well, now what? How do we look after this worker? So we create return to work plans for companies as well to make sure that workers looked after and the workplace is safe. And finally, we do occupational health testing. So we've got nursing staff, technicians that will do health assessments, physical abilities testing, mask fitting, audio testing. And of course, underneath that encompasses what we're talking about today: hearing protection fit testing and noise assessments. So let's dive right into hearing protection fit testing. And as we go, if you've got questions, you can feel free to type them in the chat, and I'm going to answer your questions at the end. So I'll get through the FAQs that I've got today, but likely I've forgotten or missed something. So if I do and you still got a question, put it in the chat. I'm going to get at those at the end. So what we're focusing on today is Alberta and Saskatchewan OHS. So at Assure, we've got a collection site network Canada-wide. We can book you and your company, wherever you happen to be working, we can book you testing in any province. But what we're going to be focusing on today is Alberta and Saskatchewan OHS as it pertains to hearing protection fit testing and noise assessment. So what is a hearing protection fit test? So at its base level, this is where you got earplugs, and you want to make sure these earplugs that you've got or that your worker has actually fits their ear. That's a good fit for them. Because we've got lots of different plugs. You've got Honeywell laser lights. These are probably one of the most common ones that when people phone and booking for a fit test, most people are getting fit with the Honeywell laser lights. You've got 3M classics. I've just got a few examples here. You've got PIP. So of course, there's so many out on the market, right? But these are just a few of the most commonly used ones that our clients are using. So not every earplug is created equally. Some, if you've seen some are really chunky, some are thick, some are skinny, like these classics, 3M classics are skinny. And so some are going to fit some ears and ear canals better than others. Not all of our ear canals are created equally. Some are small, some are wider. So you want to make sure your workers have the right plug for their ear. That's one reason why we do it. which I'll skip to the next question. The purpose of it is to make sure that that plug actually fits their ear and that they're actually wearing it properly. They're inserting it properly. That's one of the reasons why Alberta OHS decided to change that piece of their code to make this a requirement, hearing protection fit testing, is because what they're seeing is that there's been a lot of WCB claims for hearing loss. And that's one reason why there's been a lot, too many, realizing that they get to do more, get to do better to protect employees' hearing. Because if people, I mean, this is what we're seeing now that we've been doing this testing for almost a year now here in our office and on site in our mobile testing trailer, is that a lot of people are not inserting them properly. I was just talking with our manager, Carrie, and I would say it's safe to say most people who are coming in for testing are not inserting them properly. What we're seeing is they'll kind of put it in their ear, shove it in, push it in, and then it just kind of sits in their ear canal, and it feels like I got an earplug in. But when we look, it's actually just sitting in the outer ear. It's not being inserted properly down the ear canal. And in order for this to be doing what it needs to be doing to properly protecting you fully, it gets to be inserted down into your ear canal. So another purpose is to educate workers on proper insertion, care, and use of earplugs. So next question I've got here is it required? Meaning, we get this question a lot. Do we have to do this? Is it mandated? So again, in Alberta, as of March of last year, 2023, Alberta said it's a requirement if you're working in the province of Alberta and if your workers are exposed to 85 decibels or more, it's required. Saskatchewan, it's not. I would guess that it's probably coming to Saskatchewan, but as of this point, as of this recording, it's not required in Saskatchewan as of yet. So which workers require hearing protection fit testing? As mentioned, any of your workers who in a regular work shift are exposed to noise 85 decibels and above. So it's not necessarily all of your staff, it's those staff who are subject to noise over 85 decibels. So how is a hearing protection fit test completed? So there's two ways you can do a test, quantitative or qualitative. Most what we're doing in our office and in our collection sites, the gold standard here would be a quantitative fit test. So some of you are going to be familiar with mask fit testing. So either a full or a half or a full face mask fit. So in explaining hearing protection fit testing, I like to refer to mask fit testing because it really makes sense to me, and a lot of us we understand mask fit testing if you've worked in the safety sensitive industry. So using that analogy, not every mask is going to work for every face. All of our faces are different shapes. Some are wider, some are narrow, longer and shorter. So not every mask is going to work for every face. And when we're talking about mask fit testing and exposure to H2S, of course, we want to make sure we got a proper seal so that no outside contaminants are getting in and affecting your breathing in your lungs. The same is true with earplugs. Not every earplug is going to fit every ear. So that's what this test, the purpose of it, again, is to do that. So a quantitative hearing protection fit test is where you get a number at the end of it. So first, the procedure would be a person comes in, and what we would do is we've already know from the company what earplugs do you want them to be fitted with. So we'd already have the earplugs, and we'd say open them up and insert the earplug. Show us how you regularly do it. Show us how you would insert these earplugs. So no training, no education at this point. We just observe and we watch them put them in. And then we get to coach them on here's what's working, here's what's not working with how you put them in. So that's where the education piece comes in. So we're observing, and then we get to point out, again, what's working or not working. So then we would do some training. So this is the part of what do we do during a hearing protection fit test. So we would actually demonstrate. So I'm going to demonstrate it right now. Twist it, pinch that earplug, reach over with the opposite hand, open the ear canal, pull up on that ear, insert it down the ear canal. Again, making sure it's not just sitting in your outer ear. It has to be going actually down your ear canal. And then you're going to hold it for 20 seconds or so until the foam plug is done expanding. If you don't hold it, if you just put it in there and let it go, it's going to push itself back out. So we coach them on that you get to hold it until it's done expanding. A lot of people, what we hear at this point is they can struggle. I just can't get it in there. I can't. So we get to help them through it and to actually get it in the ear canal. And some people will say, that doesn't feel right. That feels like it's going to touch my brain. That feels like it's too far in. This doesn't feel right. And when we hear that, a lot of times that's a good indication that you've probably been inserting them incorrectly up till now, and it's just sitting in your outer ear. To actually be protecting you properly, it gets to be down your ear canal. Another thing that we let them know is when you look in a mirror, you shouldn't see the earplug sticking out of your ear. So that's how you know. It's another indicator that you've got that inserted properly or inserted far enough. So we do that, we do some education, then we make sure that so they've got one in. They've shown us they can do that. And then actually the beginning of the test is they put the headphones on. We're currently using the Honeywell VeraPro quantitative fit testing system is what we're doing. So how this specific system works, that's what most of our collection sites are using as well as the Honeywell VeraPro system. First thing you do is you put headphones on, and then they're presented with a series of tones back and forth in both ears. One ear is going to be loud, one ear is going to be quiet. They're going to use a cursor on their computer screen, and they're going to move it up and down until both of those in both ears, the sound is the same loudness. It's not loud and quiet. They can adjust the volume until they feel like it's the same loudness in both ears. Once they're done that, they hit accept, whatever the button's called on the screen. They're going to say, yes, that's a match. That's what it is, match. And then they're going to insert an earplug in one ear, and they're going to put the headphones back on, and we're making sure, coaching them on proper insertion, headphones back on, do that test again, balancing the loudness in both ears. Then they're going to insert both earplugs. Now I've got two earplugs in, headphones back on my head, do that one final time, the loudness balancing in both ears. And then they're going to take them off, and we're going to show them the report. So the report is coming up on the screen in a second, but it's going to give us a quantifiable number. What's the difference between quantitative and qualitative? So a quantitative test, the Honeywell VeraPro system is going to give you an actual number that we can measure. Qualitative, so just explain quantitative. So what a qualitative is, there's no machine. It's more based on the worker's sense or ability to hear. So similar to a qualitative mask fit test, and some of you might remember where in the old days, we don't do this anymore. The old days where you'd put the mask on, you put a hood over the person, you would spray Bitrix into it, and then you'd ask them, can you taste that? Because you'll know there's a leak in the mask if some of that Bitrix is getting in. If they can taste it, it's not a good seal. If they can't taste it, it's a good seal. So it's not as effective. There's room for somebody to say to potentially fudge the results or not be as forthcoming as you would want them to be. Because some people, when they do these tests, it feels like I need to pass, or I'm not going to get the job. So quantitative is another great way to ensure that we're getting accurate results. You can't really sneak around with these kinds of tests. So qualitative is put your earplugs in, cup your ears. Do you notice a change? Because if this earplug is properly inserted and then I cup my ears, and I'll ask the person, now describe the sound before and after. If they say, yeah, it sounds quieter when I cup my ears. If they say that, that's an indication that it's not inserted properly. Because proper insertion, there should be no difference between this and this. So it's more subjective, a qualitative test. Both are acceptable, quantitative and qualitative, both are acceptable according to OHS. The gold standard, of course, would be quantitative, and that's what we would just always encourage, but both are acceptable. So how long does a fit test take? We're booking 15 minutes appointments. Sometimes it can take 10 or less, but in our office, we schedule them for 15 minutes. So pretty quick, in and out. What info do I need to book a hearing protection fit test? So when you phone our office or use our online booking submission form, what you're going to be asked is name and company, of course, and what's the brand and model of the earplug that you're using. We need to know because there's so many, there's hundreds of earplugs on the market. We need to know which one do you want this worker fitted for. So the brand, like this example, would be the Honeywell. The model is LaserLite. 3M Classic, brand 3M, the model is Classic. 3M, of course, is, has lots of different earplugs. So we need to know the brand, the model, and then we need to know what's the noise exposure level for that worker. What is the noise exposure level for that worker? So what the noise exposure level is, as a plumber, as an electrician, as a vac truck driver, whatever that worker is doing, as a vac truck driver, what level of noise is he exposed to in his normal workday? Well, his truck, the vac truck might be operating at 88 decibels, 86 decibels. So we need to know that. What's he exposed to in a regular workday? Somebody else who works in a plant might be at 90 decibels. Somebody, right, every job, every workshop, every work site can vary. So we need to know what is the noise exposure level for that worker. So we need to know that that's kind of the minimum. That gives us the threshold. This tells us we at least need to make sure that this earplug that you've asked us to fit this worker for is protecting him enough for the amount of noise that he's exposed to on a regular workday. So we put that into the computer. So most people are saying 85. Some would say 90. Again, it just depends on what that person's exposed to. So we put in, if it's 90, then we need to make sure that earplug is actually protecting them at least to 90 decibels, if not more. So that gives us that minimum level. So where do we find? Because quite often we get this question, or the booking staff will get this question when they ask, what's the noise exposure level? And they'll say, I don't know, what's that? Where do I find that out? So where you find it is in your noise assessment, which is where we're going to go next, your noise assessment. So hang on to that. So another common question that we get is, how do we choose which earplugs for our workers? I don't know. There's so many out there. Do we just pick one? And you can go with, kind of industry. What are other people using? And again, that's why I like to share some of these three that I've just got here: Honeywell LaserLite, 3M Classic, the PIP Mega T Fit is this one. This orange one, PIP Mega T Fit. We've got a few clients that are working with that one as well. It's good, can be helpful to know, what's popular ones. And then you can also go to this CSA guide here, and you can find this online. This is free information. I just put the graph up here for you. This tells you, I've just got this one graph here. You then need to go and look at the CSA guidelines on this to find out exactly the class and the grade. What does A, B, C, or D, 1, 2, 3, or 4 look like? But again, that's all available online. They're going to give you some more details about if your workers looking at this this graphic in front of us. On the left-hand column, the maximum equivalent noise level, meaning if your workers, we'll just look at the first line there, for example, if your workers are exposed to over 90 decibels, then the class and the grade they're giving you there, these are the hearing protection devices. They're going to properly protect that worker for that level of noise exposure. So what I've got here in front of us is a printout report for the Honeywell VeriPro quantitative fit testing system. Again, this is the one that we're using. So I put this up here to give us a bit more information about what do you learn during the hearing protection fit test. So starting off at the very bottom, your reported exposure level, 85 decibels. So that's where we put in, we ask you as the company, what's this worker's noise exposure level? regularly the maximum exposure for this worker is 85 decibels, is what we heard for this company. So that was put in there. Then we put in at the top, we'll put in the system. This worker is being fitted for, looking at the top column, it says the laser lights. It's actually got the picture of them on there, the fluorescent pink and yellow. Put that in there because each of them has the published attenuation rating. So on this package at the bottom, it's got the NRR number, the noise reduction rating. So for this plug, it's 32. So what that means is this is the published for most people, the averaged, if you will, noise reduction rating for this plug is 32 decibels, meaning if I'm exposed, if there's 100 decibels of noise around me, I put this plug in, what they're saying, according to the manufacturer's research, is it should be protecting you by 32 decibels. So if there's 100 decibels around me, what's actually hitting my eardrum is only going to be 68. It's only going to be 68, is what they're saying. So that's the published attenuation. And now after we did the test, looking at that quick test result, left ear, right ear, what the actual is for that worker, as he inserted them, was it was protecting his left ear by 17 decibels and his right by 16. So why the discrepancy? The discrepancy could be because that worker didn't properly insert them. Maybe they just kind of put it in. They were struggling. Some, when you doing this work for as many years as I have, I've looked in a lot of eardrums. Not all of our eardrums just go straight in. Some will go up, some will go down, they can point. So it can take a bit for a person to figure out, how do we insert this properly? I've been doing it long enough now. I know how to just get it in there quickly. But again, for most people even if you've been wearing earplugs on the work site for a long time, they're not doing it properly. So it can take some time to figure it out. So maybe that's what happened here. And maybe another reason for the discrepancy here could be that plug, the Honeywell laser light, is just not a good fit for that person. Maybe this can be a wide one. This plug is pretty thick. So for some smaller women, it's not a good fit. The 3M Classic might be better for someone with a smaller ear canal. So that could be some reasons why. So now looking at the safe exposure level and the protected exposure level, what that's telling us is with the Honeywell laser lights inserted, as the worker did during this test, because as they did it today doesn't mean it's exactly how they're going to do it tomorrow when they're on site, but as they did it during this test, they're safe to be around noise up to 101 decibels. That's what we're looking at there. So one more thing I just want to point out on this graph is looking at the colorful bar. Let's look at the blue section, risk of overprotection. It brings up another good point of overprotection. So what we don't want is a worker who's on site, they've got earplugs in, they've got muffs in, and they're only around 85 decibels. Now, if they've got earplugs in and ear muffs on, they're overprotected, meaning they can't hear if there's an alarm or if there's an issue, if there's a safety issue. They can't hear anything around them. So what we're after here is to find a median level. So that's the green zone, the recommended protection level. You want a person in there. So they're protected from the loud noise, but they can still hear what's going on around them. So you want to find that middle ground there. So now shifting away from fit testing and onto noise assessments. So what is a noise assessment? A noise assessment is essentially where, and we do this as well, where we come into your office, your shop, we come to your site, and we'll look at we'll assess your trucks, your fleet of trucks. We'll assess a workshop where there's many different tools and grinders and compressors and blowers and saws, and we'll assess each unit, each tool to see what level of noise does this person are they exposed to. So this is a sound level meter. So here's an example of the device that we use to measure the sound. So this is it's got the muff on it to be outside, but it's gonna be used in or outdoors. But this, what we do is we make a list of all of the items or vehicles or pieces of equipment that are potentially over 85 decibels, and we'll assess how much noise is this piece of equipment exerting or emitting, sorry. So we'll go around, we'll test, we usually come on site, and when I come on site, I'll usually have one person that's showing me around the shop for the time that I'm there. And I'll have them fire up that truck, I'll have them rev it up, I'll have them do it at idle. I'll have them start this piece of equipment again. What's the max noise? What's the minimum noise? So just average noise. Use this piece of equipment as it's normally used while a worker is using it. So it's also conducted, we're holding this machine at ear level. We're not holding it up high, we're not holding it down low, because we want to hold it at the level that an average worker is, where that sound is going to be hitting their ears. So we're aware of things like that. So we will actually come to site, do an assessment of the types of noise that a worker is typically exposed to. At the end of it, we give you, the company, a report that says, here's the maximum noise level, the average noise level for this truck. We'll break it down by piece of equipment, by vehicle, by shop, by area. We break it down, and then we give that report to you. We can even break it down by employee. We give that report to you as the company, and that becomes your guide, so that when you phone and book in a hearing protection fit test and we ask you what's the noise exposure level, that's what tells you. As a vac truck driver, we look up, what is the vac truck? His truck is emitting this amount of noise, so he needs to be protected up to 90 decibels. You're going to get it from this noise assessment. So when do you need to conduct a noise assessment? You're going to conduct it. Again, we'll talk about Alberta and Saskatchewan. What Saskatchewan says is, if your workers are exposed to 80 decibels or more, that's when you need to conduct a noise assessment at 80. Alberta says it's 82. If your workers are exposed to 82 decibels or more, you need to conduct a noise assessment. So again, Saskatchewan 80, Alberta 82. The threshold is still 85. So this is where some confusion can happen. And when things came out last March and Alberta dropped it from 85 to 82, there was some confusion that, oh, so our workers need to be wearing earplugs if they're exposed to anything over 82 now? No, that hasn't changed. For both provinces, the threshold is still 85 for when they need to be wearing hearing protection, still 85 decibels. The threshold for when to conduct a noise assessment is 80, Saskatchewan, 82 for Alberta. So why both provinces have said that they want it to be lower is just to be proactive, to get ahead of things, because it might be 82, you know, if you do a noise assessment, you find out that workers are only exposed to 82. Well, it might be that today, but it might change in the future as you get new equipment, as you add tools to your shop, as you add workers to your shop, and the noise assessment can increase. So that's when you need to conduct a noise assessment. These details, of course, can be found in Alberta and Saskatchewan OHS code. So how is a noise assessment completed? I think for the most part, we've covered that one. So generally speaking, if there's any more questions, I'm just gonna go ahead and put them in the chat now. That's the end of the FAQs that I've got for us today. But if you've got more, go ahead and put them in the chat now. But just to briefly summarize where we've been today and what this is all about. Why hearing protection matters is, and this is something, I'm actually just going to read this because I found this really interesting as I was doing some research and to sharpen up for this. I found something really interesting about noise and what it does to workers. Because a big reason why we do this, you want to make sure you're looking after your workers. This prevents noise-induced hearing loss. There's other things that can affect our hearing that could cause us to have poor hearing, but noise is one of the biggest ones. So it's to prevent your workers from having noise-induced hearing loss. It's going to help minimize your WCB claims. It's going to, oh, here's the other ones. The other ones are, and I found this really interesting, and that when we're exposed to noise, it increases our blood pressure. It increases our heart rate. If you're working in a noisy environment, your blood pressure can increase, heart rate increases, changes in hormone and cholesterol levels, and causes fatigue. When I read that, I thought, yeah, that makes sense. When I'm around loud noise, sometimes it's like, can somebody just turn that off? Like it just, okay, I'm done. I got to get out of here. So it makes sense. Blood pressure and heart rate can go up. Causes fatigue. So there's more than this is about more, as you know, I'm talking to you as managers and owners of companies. This is about more than protecting your workers' hearing and avoiding WCB claims and things like that. This is about increasing productivity in your workplace. When it's really noisy, people are more irritable, heart rates are going up, and they're getting tired more quickly. I just found it super interesting. So it's this is about protecting workers' hearing. This is about complying with OHS. Alberta OHS says this is a requirement. Is it going to be coming in Saskatchewan? Possibly. So just looking at the questions. Sorry, we already covered, but is it 80 decibels for 4 hours or 8 hours in a work period or anything over 80? So I think what you're referring to with that question is what I mentioned, Saskatchewan is 80 to conduct a noise assessment. So it's just workers are exposed to 80. I don't actually believe they're breaking it down by hours, but if it's 80 at all and then if there's any exposure to 80 decibels at all over a regular workday. I believe if that's what you're referring to, if not, clarify again in the chat. Also, if a hearing claim is made, does it affect the company's WCB rates? In my experience, yes. In my experience, yes. Which again is another reason why this is so important for workers to be doing. I guess another question that we get is what's the cost of this? I haven't covered that one. So a cost for one in our office, in our main office here, is $35 for hearing protection fit test. For a noise assessment, so for hearing protection fit testing, that cost could vary, across the provinces. If we're booking for you in other cities and other locations, that cost can vary. But in our main office, it's $35 for that hearing protection fit test for one plug. Some companies will say let's get them fitted for 2, or let's add on muffs. Another question is, can we do custom molded earplugs? Can people get tested for that? Answer is yes. As long as we know that NRR number, that noise reduction rating number, then we can definitely fit test for a custom molded earplug. So the cost for noise assessment, thank you, is this varies. So this one is, it's best to give a quote on, because here's why it can vary is, for example, I've gone out and I've done a fleet of 10 trucks. So this will involve a base. Actually, I don't even have it in front. It's a few $100s is the base, and then there's an hourly rate on top of it. Because it depends on how many trucks there are. Are they all lined up and ready to go, or is it, are we waiting around for trucks to kind of come in and out? So there's an hourly rate that goes along with it. So I don't actually know the specifics off the top of my head, but it's a few $100s base rate, and then it can go up from there based on how many hours are involved in this. And once that noise assessment is complete, within a few days, you get an emailed PDF that you then get to take and use as the base for your company. And then as there's any changes to your fleet of equipment, as there's changes to your office or workshops, then that noise assessment would need to be revised or added to. So, I mean, this summer I was out to one location multiple times as they added more trucks to their fleet. So as things change, that gets to be updated as well. So base rate I'm just getting some information from Carrie, our amazing manager. Base rate is $350 for noise assessment. So $350, and then hourly on top of that for noise assessment. So if there's more questions, I'm not seeing any more in the chat, but if you've got any more, on the screen there is how you can get in touch with us. AssureTesting.com, toll-free number is there. You can find us on Facebook, find us on LinkedIn, find us in all the ways. Email myself, john@assuretesting.com. Happy to consult on any of this, answer any of your questions that you've got. So we're here for you. Answer any of your occupational health, drug and alcohol testing, supervisor training needs. So it's been a pleasure. Hope this was helpful for each of you. You know how to get a hold of us. So thanks again.